I was gonna say like, so does that number grow depending on like the census? Because like with the new redistricting, the population growing, does that number like also increase over time?
So they made an amendment where it's fixed, at least in the House of Representatives, to no more than 435. So that means that states will lose representatives if they see a significant decline in population, and other states will get those seats. So they're reappropriated, but it's
Okay.
fixed at 435.
So the thing, so Colorado got another one. So there's another state that lost one.
So
like what state? Like the states that people are kind of moving out of.
exactly. So California lost one. New York lost one or two.
Why?
Florida has gained one. I think Texas has gained two. So those seats also kind of shape our electoral college, if you know what that is. So for the presidential election, which means instead of 9 electoral votes in Colorado, next presidential election, Colorado will have 10 electoral
Okay.
votes. So that means we also get a bigger say in who we get to pick as our president.
So like I know like during this past election, like one of the big topics was like if they should just do like the popular vote instead of doing electoral college. Like what's your opinion on like that? Do you or why should we keep doing the electoral college?
See, what people don't understand about the Electoral College is I think it's one of the most brilliant mechanisms that we have to date. You see, our founders, with through much debate and deliberation, right? You look at back then, and most of the population, I think, was Virginia. So what the founders were really thinking of is saying, well, if we go by popular vote, not only will it arouse public passions, but it'll be Virginia, at least at that time, picking the president every single time. And what you've seen is as we've grown as a country, right, we've expanded westward, the westward expansion, and, California has the most population, New York as well. So if you go by a popular vote, California and New York will decide the president every single time because that's where most of the population is segregated at. And I would like people who do not like the Electoral College to think about the people who live in Michigan, Pennsylvania, Florida, those places that are what I consider swing. So sometimes they go back and forth. They're not traditionally red. They're not traditionally blue. They go back and forth. So if we go by popular vote, it's pretty much going to have California and places like New York pick the president every single time. And I don't think that's fair. Now, I understand people's one person, one vote population, but our population is completely dispersed. It's not actually, compounded evenly throughout the country. So that most of those people, for the most part, vote Democratic. So you can only assume that we'll always have a Democratic president to lead us. And I have nothing wrong with Democrats for the most part.
Do you think something like that's kind of like because you're Republican on the Republican side? Do you think people can kind of see that and be like, well, for us it's good, but like you're saying for us, like, are you talking more like just to have an even thing or because you're kind of Republican?
It's not about partisan. For the most part, people tend to align their views with someone that they can identify with. But places like California and New York have been overwhelmingly Democratic. Their state legislatures, their leaders for the most part are Democratic. And it amazes me that people continue to vote for them because you see that in these places there's crime that is record high, even more so in recent years. There's high taxes. There's heavy regulation. And what you see is, especially in California, has the 8th largest economy in the world. Now you got to think about it, right? If entertainment was not there, right, Hollywood and Silicon Valley,
there you go.
then I don't think their economy would be as big. But what you've realized is these people, high income earners, and studies show that if you make more money, you're more likely to vote Democratic. But, these heavy burdens and regulations become like a norm. It's become like a culture for them, expecting, But looking past the politics, I'm not talking about Republican, that it disadvantages Republican. I would say if we went to a popular vote, then it would focus solely on Los Angeles County, which is the biggest county in the country, and New York City. And that's where these people who want to be president would campaign on. And they would ignore those places, like I said, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Florida, and pretty much have them without a voice.